hopefully, okay, so we are recording this for those that cannot join us, and we will post it later. So if you have to leave or can't stay the whole time, we'll let you know when the recording is posted and send that on the listserv. So if you can just bear with me for a second, I'm going to do a share screen and put the PowerPoint up.
Can we just real quick remind everybody, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. And there is a chat feature at the bottom that you can submit questions to, or you can do them, you can interrupt us and ask questions as well.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime you have a question, feel free to unmute and ask, because we may not think of everything as we're going through these topics. All right. So let me try to share my screen here.
Not working.
You have to enable, mine's disabled.
Oh, that's right. Okay, sorry. We thought we had all the bugs worked out.
So let me get the slideshow going. All right, can everyone see the PowerPoint now? Okay. So we have a very sort of informal agenda here. We just want to start by giving you an overview of our finances and services. I think it's helpful for you to know what we're working with, because financially, quite honestly, we're not working with a lot. And we have seen a huge decline this year, as most of you have. So we want to give you some numbers so you can see what we're working with. We want to explain to you some of the challenges we've had in some of the services that have been requested over the years, some of the challenges we face with vendors, why we can't offer certain things. But then we also want to hear back from you regarding potential new services or improvements to existing services. So we definitely want feedback. So let me just give you an overview of where the finances stand right now. The revenue we've received this year is the lowest we have ever received. So as you all know, or I assume most of you know, the new ones may not, we get one annual payment from each library per year, and that is our only source of income. We don't have any statutory way to get more money. The only freedom our board has is to adjust the amount. The statute sets it at 2%. Our board has always been geared toward lowering that amount. They have never raised it. Most years they lower it. So with 79 libraries paid as of right now, we have made less than $180,000, which is the lowest amount we've ever received. Previously, our lowest amount was around 205. Now, there were 2 years that we had almost the exact same amount, 2013 and 2015. Those were also years where we reduced the amount that the libraries owed. But back then, the refund grants were like 30 to 33%, something like that. Now, even raising that amount just slightly to where you get a 25% reduction, we're still well under 200,000. We've never been under 200,000 in revenue. Last year was different because we decided, the board has voted every 5th year to require the full 2% payment just to replenish our reserve funds, because they are going to gradually go down year by year. So that'll, replenish it from time to time. Last year, we only received 288,000. Any other year in which the full 2% payment was received, we had well over $300,000. So the revenue has been steadily declining since 2018. So I just put the range on here so you can see the full range of revenue we've had since we've been in existence. So any year in which we offered some kind of refund grant, and I didn't break this down based on the amount refunded, just all refund grant years, the payment, well, that's at the bottom, 177,500 up to 226,000. We have made as much as 333,000 on the years we've not applied any kind of refund grant. So you can see that 287,500, that was last year. That's significantly lower than any other year where we've requested a full 2% payment. So just so you know, we are on the decline right now. There are a lot of reasons for that. This year, COVID, obviously. It's not necessarily every library is going down. It's more of a case-by-case basis. Some of you are seeing reduced revenue. Some of you are actually seeing increase, which is remarkable, but minor increases. No one's seeing any kind of significant increase. But averaging all of them together, everything has been going down the last few years. So I just want to put this in perspective. In 2019, after we had put several years of work into building up the reserve funds, our expenses exceeded revenue, which means any year from here on out that we offer a refund grant, we will spend more than we bring in. Not the first time, but the first time in recent years it happened was 2019. 2020, we build up those reserve funds again, the full 2% payment, but from here on out, most likely every year except that 5th year when the full payment is received, we are going to spend more than we bring in. Our current spending is approximately $230,000 to $250,000 a year. And remember, we brought in less than $178,000 this year. But we're not expected at the trends we're seeing right now to bring in more than $200,000 to $220,000 each year. So just want you to see that those reserve funds are gradually going to be depleted, even though when you look at the financial statements right now, it looks like we have a lot of money. For example, if you looked at the April statement, we finished April with $467,000. I can tell you that as of all the invoices I've submitted right now, we're down more than 100,000. We're down to under 350. So that's just like 2 months going down over 100,000. So I just want to kind of put that in perspective for you. So in addition to reminding you of our services, we want to give you a breakdown of how much we spend on each service. So that's what this chart is. So you can see on this chart will be anything where I can attach a cost to it. But then we also have a list on the next page of additional services where they don't cost us. We can't break it down by cost, but we want to make sure you're aware of all of our services, especially if you've not been doing this very long and you're not sure what all we have to offer. We want to make sure you're aware of that. So our largest cost each year is for the books. And I have put in here a combination of actual cost and estimates for this year. About half the books have shipped and I have the actual cost, and the others I have the estimated. So we're looking at about $71,000 this year on books. OJI, I put it separately because unlike the other handbooks, it's a subscription. So we're on a 3-year plan. We're in the 2nd year, I believe. So you get all the updates in that contract period. So it's not a one-time purchase like the other books. So we're getting close to $60,000 a year on that. That goes up slightly every year. The Overdrive platform is the ebook platform, and we provide the platform for you. So if you do not have a digital library and would like to start one, you can let me know and I can approve with Lexis for your access to the platform to be paid to billed to and paid by the consortium. Now you would still purchase any ebooks you want. Other than those share titles, we do have several share titles that we provide. That's around $7,000 right now. And we did sign a 3-year contract on those recently. So we just started the new contract. So you should be able to expect those same titles for at least 3 years. Grants, and let me point out this year, we were really low on the grants. So that's why our spending's a little low. We only had less than 45,000 requested. Last year, we spent over 62,000 in grants. The year before, 79,000. So generally, even though we've set 50,000 as sort of the average amount that we're willing to spend, if we have more money and libraries request it and we can do it, we generally go a little over that 50,000. So, but this year we didn't have that much requested. And then Library World, that is the cataloging platform. And right now we have 38 libraries on there, and they have not raised the price for years. They've been very good to keep their pricing consistent. It's the only service we pay for where the price doesn't go up regularly every year. And I do want to point out on the books, I know not everyone finds this selection of books useful, but I can tell you that Lexis extends our discount to all the county agencies. So if you're new in the fall, when the board approves next year's book purchases, we'll also send out order forms that you can take to your different agencies and let them order on our same discount plan. Last year, we had over 1,700 additional books ordered. So even though I know some libraries, this may not help your individual library, we're helping all the courts and county agencies with this. I mean, if you consider 1,700 more books ordered, that's saving a lot of agencies a lot of money. So it is an important service that extends beyond the library. And you can always emphasize that discount to your agencies every year. So the book orders generally come out in November. So be looking for that at the end of the year. So before we move to the next screen, Angela is going to show you a couple of, I think she's going to show you Library World since it's on this page, and give you some information on that. Okay. We're tag teaming this so we don't have to keep changing our screens. So.
All right. Where did Library World go? Okay. So like Jennifer said, we have about 38 libraries who are currently using Library World right now. And this directly relates back to one of the charges that the consortium has, which is to maintain a record of what the libraries own. The 38 libraries that are on Library World, you are able to search their catalogs in what's called a union catalog. There's been some comments on the survey that we don't have a way to search, excuse me, all of our libraries like OhioLink or your local consortium does, but that's not true. You actually can do it. The OPAC is what it's called. Website is up at the top. So it's opac.libraryworld.com/opac/home.php. If you are not a user of, if you're not a subscriber to Library World currently, it's probably going to ask you to give a library name. You can just put any Franklin County, any county that's in Library World. It really doesn't matter. Once you've done that, you will be on this homepage. It'll probably be a little different depending on which county you put in, but all the functionality is the same. So you can search this just like you do an OPAC at your public library. So I'm going to put in, let's see, landlord, tenant, and do a search. And what you get is all of the books regarding landlord tenant. I'm going to hide this for a minute. I'm sorry, I did this wrong. Ignore what I just said. Let's go back. You were, at that point, you were only searching Franklin County. At the bottom, on the left-hand side over here, there's a little globe called Union. That's what you need to click on. And that lists the counties that are currently subscribing to Library World. Now we can do landlord tenant, do a search. And what you see over on the right-hand side is how many titles each library has with that search hit. So if you see, for example, Crawford County is on here, we can then click on Crawford County and you can see the titles that they purchase. This is really helpful when you're doing ILLs. Bring this back up. Instead of doing a email blast to the listserv, you could go on this union catalog, do the search. You could do a specific book title, see which libraries have it, and then email them directly or call them directly to get what you're looking for.
You don't have to be logged in. Anyone can search. You don't have to be on the platform or logged in to do a search.
This is also linked on our website. If you want to, I'll just show you that really quick. If you want to go to our website, it's the very first link and you wouldn't have to put in a username because it's linked to our website. So it's very simple to use. Are there any questions on Library World before we move on? The one thing I do want to say before Jennifer goes back to her topic is, if anyone is interested in joining Library World, we will help you load your catalog into it. It's actually a pretty simple procedure because we can copy and paste from other libraries. Since we all pretty much have the same material, it's not that difficult. So if you're interested in joining, it is a free service that we have. Library World let me just show you this. Library World as an owner, as a subscriber, which library am I in? I can't, okay. Let me go back here. I can't see this with the Zoom screen. So if you are a subscriber to Library World, you get, why can't I find Franklin? You get all of the modules along the left-hand side. So you've got a catalog for all of your books. Let's see, I'll give you an example. So from this module, you can make changes to records. You can add new additions, anything you need to do. There is a patron module where, all your patrons are listed. If you would like to do circulating privileges, you can add them. There's a circulation mode where patrons can check books out. There's a lot of reports that are great for the end of the year when your commissioners are asking for how many books did you circulate, how many books do you own, all those good things. So it's a really great tool. It's very simple. It's web-based, so you don't have to load it onto your server. And like I said, we will help you upload and get started if that's something you're interested in.
And remember that a lot of our libraries do not have a catalog. So that's why you're not going to find a huge list. Less than half are on Library World. If you have other catalogs, some have none, some just have a shelf list. Even if you don't circulate, this is a good way to keep track of your collection. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to share if you're on Library World. You can still have a catalog of what you have and keep it organized that way. And then you would have the stats. Once everything's in there, if you add or take things away, you can still do reports and see how many books you have, see how large your collection is. So don't feel like you shouldn't do it just because you don't necessarily circulate. You can still keep track of your own collection. That's helpful. So any questions before we move on?
Send it back to you.
I actually have a question, not about Library World though. Are you going to show us how to get to the ebooks?
I can do that also. We didn't actually have that on the agenda. You want me to do that real quick, Jennifer?
That's fine. But that's different for each library because you would have your own access,
Well,
but she can show you.
I don't think I have my own. I don't know.
Okay, so
Okay.
everybody's going to go to Overdrive. That's the platform, and it's the same platform that most of the public libraries in Ohio are using. So if you've ever gotten an ebook or an audiobook from your public library, chances are you got it through Overdrive. Overdrive is actually an Ohio company, which is why it's very popular here in the state. So what we have done on this is our homepage. We have put a link to that Overdrive platform right on our homepage. And I would assume anyone else who has ebooks, it's going to look very similar to this. The first step is to select your library. So we've only got, let me move this down. We only have a handful of them right now that are circulating ebooks, but you choose your library. And then you get to decide the level of security. So we have decided, I have to find my library card here. We have decided not to make it, not to require a password. So all they need is their library card number. So let me enter this. Okay, and so that will take you to the Overdrive page. And from there, you can see the books. Let's see. I haven't been on this in a while. There we go. So browse library, you've got recently added libraries. They provide the subjects for us. This is all done for you. If you sign up, there's no legwork on your end to create this page. It's all done for you. So if you have a patron looking for something kind of small, I guess, real estate law, these are the titles that we have. Now, keep in mind, these are a combination of the ones that we buy ourselves, as well as the ones that the consortium provides for us. It's a seamless transition. Your patrons don't know what they're getting. But once they decide that they are interested in a book, it gives you all the information, short synopsis, and then they can click read, just like you would a book from the public library. And this is available on any type of device. And you also can set your checkout terms. I forget, there's a couple different options to choose from. I think we do 2 weeks. But all of that will be decided when you decide to join. We'll have a chat with you, Overdrive and LexisNexis, and everything will be done for you, and it'll be up and running. And remember, because the consortium pays for the platform and the consortium has a selection of ebooks that they buy, you could actually get an ebook library up and running for your patrons right now at no cost. You don't have to buy additional books. You could use the books that we provide for you and still provide ebooks for your patrons. And if you don't do library cards where you don't have a library card number, we create chronological numbers. Everything is very simple, and Overdrive works very well with us to make it fit your needs of your library. Did that answer your question, Jean Marie?
Okay. So before we move to the next screen, you can just see the total that we're expecting to spend this year. Our best estimate at this point is about 218,000. It could be slightly more, slightly less, but normally it'd be closer to 230, 240, but the grants were a lot lower this year. So just to give you an idea, if we spend 218, but only bring in 178, that's a significant difference. And this is not letting me, there we go. Okay. So this is the list of services where I don't have a cost to attach to it. Really, the cost that would be attached to this would basically be the time Angela and I put into it that the consortium reimburses us for. So there's no way to really put a number with this, but the one thing that I want to make sure everyone is familiar with is our website. We get requests a lot of time for information, forms, documents, all kinds of information that is on the website. We make sure anything you need to know is posted there. So if you need something, you may want to look there first. And if you don't find it, then let us know. And we don't mind, send us an email if you need something and can't find it. And usually I'll attach a document plus also show you where it is on the website. But we are trying our best to put everything you would need here. And we're also working right now to really revamp it, organize it a little better, update the forms. We're hoping to keep gradually updating the forms for their Google Forms, and you can just fill it in and it's submitted. You'll probably remember getting some emails with the last grant report form that first we sent it out as a fill-in PDF, but then we also changed it to where you could have that option to do a Google form and just enter it. So we're working to get all the forms updated and get the website updated. So Angela is going to show you some of the features on the website, and we did just change the documents page name to resources because we felt that was more appropriate. So that's one thing that we didn't update in the PowerPoint yet.
Okay, let me find it here. There it is. Okay. So Jennifer and I spent the last couple of days really updating this page. So if you've looked at it, if you haven't looked at it in the last couple of days, it may look a little different to you. First of all, the website is cocll.ohio.gov, very simple. On the homepage, we have just put two things on here. Even if this is the only place you go, there's a wealth of information. So the announcements, first of all, so anytime we have a board meeting or a survey that needs to be filled out, it's going to be on the announcements page. For example, today's meeting is listed there with the Zoom link, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation for you. And then the other part of this page is just our current initiatives. So what are we offering right now? So right now, the big thing that everybody's talking about are the ARPA grants. And since a lot of people seem to be looking at getting ebooks through the ARPA grants, we created this whole informational page with everything you need for the ARPA grants, including partnership letters from Overdrive, from Lexis, and from the consortium that tell you that are necessary for the grant, saying how all of our partnerships work. Right now, this is ongoing. We always have emergency grants open, which Jennifer will talk about. And just a reminder about the Facebook page. So this page is always going to tell you what's going on right now. On the About Us page, we have moved everything necessary for the legal operation of the library. So what is our charge? What are the ORC sections that specifically deal with the county law libraries? What legal opinions have been issued in the past regarding the law libraries from the various agencies? The Attorney General, the auditor, even some county prosecutors have given opinions. And there's also a listing of all of our board members and when their term is due and who they were appointed by, as well as the staff. Like Jennifer said, we changed the documents page name to resources because this is really where all the information is coming from. So the first part of this is your forms and documents. This is really what we get asked the most for. So there is always a blank invoice for your 2% contribution, and it's always updated each year. So if it's a refund year, there's a line to deduct your refund. I'm going to open it up and just show everybody. There's information on where to submit.
And if you're new,
if you're new,
or even if you're old,
well,
by that, I mean, if you've been at this for what, sometimes people forget these documents have to go to two places.
Right.
I need the MOU with your signature so I can keep it on file because technically it is a grant. And anytime we are audited, the state auditor likes to look at grants to make sure we have all the paperwork. So the MOU that allows you to get the refund, the document you sign, needs to come to me. The invoice needs to be mailed to that Front Street address with your payment because our fiscal office is the Supreme Court fiscal office. So that's where the check and the invoice need to go. The invoice has to go there so they can credit your payment to our fund. And if they get a copy of your MOU and I don't have it on file, they don't forward that to me. We're not in the same building. I can't get it. It just goes as part of the record with that payment amount. It's nothing that I have access to keep on file. And if you send me the check, I have to put it in the mail and send it to them. So just keep that in mind. I know it's confusing and I try to put reminders out each year.
The next item on the forms and documents is the ILL reporting form. And we have updated this to a Google Docs. We've actually updated it earlier this year to make it a little simpler. The reminder is if you are the borrowing library, you should be filling this document out every time you get an ILL. It's very simple. Tell us which county you're from, which county fulfilled your request. If it wasn't fulfilled, why, the date, the title, and what type of material it was. And then was it emailed, faxed, or shipped? Super simple, but these statistics are really helpful when it comes to funding and proving our worth, if God forbid we ever have to do that again. So please remember that as the borrowing library only, you should be filling this form out.
And please fill it out if you give it a couple days and don't get the material, so we know. Sometimes attorneys ask for things that don't even exist. So sometimes that's the problem, or sometimes there's just no way to get it, even if you put that request out there on the listserv. But we kind of want to get an idea of that too, just so we can see we're still responding and helping each other, even if the item's not available. So that's something new this year that we started in January. So
Right.
please report even if you don't get the item.
And if you decide to go the route of using the union catalog and requesting directly from a library, still fill that out. The next item under this heading is all of the grant information. So the optional grant RFPs are there. Is this the one that's the form, Jennifer? No, not yet. This is the RFP. So this is the information page to tell you the
The
rules.
form's attached now. It's on one packet.
Okay.
If you keep one, it's there.
Okay. Reminder that at the end of the grant period, you are required to fill out a reporting form and to submit your receipts and any unused money. The emergency grant is there. If you do need to return unused money, there's an invoice, refund invoice for you to use. It's very similar to the 2%. The next thing we have are legal forms. We've put the Supreme Court's Uniform Ohio Domestic Relations forms that apply to the whole state. We've also added our forms page because we have a couple hundred forms. We get asked for them a lot throughout the whole state. These forms, you can open the Word version and change our county to your county. Feel free to use these. If anyone else wants their legal forms added to this page, please let me know and I will do that. And then we have the fines and penalty chart that everybody's always looking for. The next section is what the consortium is currently providing for you, so you can always check. This first box is all of those shared ebooks. All of these books are available for free to you right now to share with your patrons. Then we have the Matthew Bender handbooks that we provide for you with an estimated date of delivery, and our current pocket part program with current senders and recipients. Again, if this is something you're interested in, let us know. The next section is the policies. So we've compiled not only our public records retention policy, but samples from the Historical Society and others that you can, the forms that you can fill in and use for your own library. We've put the Supreme Court's administrative policy because this affects us directly. This is how we pay bills, how we deal with income. It may not be directly related to you, but it's always good to see what a state agency is doing for administrative policies. And then we've put our advisory council's charter. And then we have all the surveys. We've archived every survey we've ever done. So a lot of times we get questions about who owns what or who's open to the public. Those questions can be answered by just looking at the latest survey. And we don't have this year's up yet, but we're working on it. And then finally, we have some training videos on using Library World. That was a request we got a couple of years ago. I am more than happy to do training videos on any topic, or if you have a training video and you want to add it to the website, let me know. I just need to know what topics you want me to do training on. If there's something that we use, if it's the ebooks, anything that we use, we will put here in the training. We're happy to accept other videos as well. And then finally, just along the left-hand margin, you will always find minutes from every meeting we've ever had and financial reports from the current fiscal year. So we don't have all of them. If you need something outside of the fiscal year, just email Jennifer and she can get that to you.
Yeah, any of our permanent records we have digitized. If you need something, we can send it to you.
And then finally, we have our links page, which gives you access to every member library. All the libraries that have homepages are hyperlinked in their title. The librarian is listed as well as an email for that librarian. Please check your library, make sure I have the current information. And if something does change, let me know and I will get that fixed the same day. And on the left-hand side, we got rid of a page that was called
Events.
Thanks. It wasn't really being utilized. It was basically articles in the news that pertain to libraries. So I just moved it to this page. You can see we haven't had any articles since 2008. So if your library is ever featured in the news, or you find an article that's relevant to us, send it to me and I will add it to the website. Are there any questions on the website? Something you want to see, didn't see, don't understand?
And we can't emphasize enough how important it is to let us know anytime contact information changes.
Yeah.
And some libraries, I can tell you it's not up to date, but we call, no one answers. We email, no one responds. So we don't know. It's a situation where the staff has changed and we've not been informed, but we don't have anything to go on to try to figure out the new information. So please, if you know something has changed, let us know.
At the bottom of every page of the homepage is our contact information. Jennifer's email is hyperlinked, my email is hyperlinked, as well as the Facebook page, which I think Jennifer's going to talk about later. Or do you want me to talk about it?
I'll introduce it, then you can show it.
Okay.
Kind of like we've been doing.
Okay.
Okay, before we move on, I've gotten an email that some people cannot chat. I actually sent a test chat through to see if it worked. I've not had any trouble. I just posted, but I also put on there the phone number you can call if you can't unmute or you can't chat and you want to be on the phone where you can speak if you need to. So there's a phone number and then you just enter the same meeting ID that you use to log on with your computer. And then to unmute from a phone, it's *6. So I did add that to the chat. If some of you have questions and want to try to type them in the chat to see if it's working, feel free. But I did get at least one person email me that they can't chat. So
Okay.
my tests, I'm seeing it there, it went through.
I'm going to put our email addresses. We're both at our desks and can answer email questions as well. So feel free to use that.
Okay. I just have to remember to check.
Yeah.
So far I've remembered. Okay. So let me go back to the PowerPoint here. So we went over the website. And one of the things that is also available to you, and no one has really asked for this, but we do have some needs-based grant opportunities. We do have to update the RFP a little bit, but basically, if you have a need and it's going to cause some kind of hardship, you can apply for up to $1,000. This is just on a rolling grant cycle. There's not a specific deadline. At this point, it's limited to $1,000 per library per every two-year fiscal cycle of the Supreme Court, because that's our fiscal office. So the new fiscal cycle just started on July 1st. So from July 1st of this year through June 30th of 2023, you can apply for $1,000 of emergency funds. We do have to get that RFP updated just a little bit, but the one that's there just had the date of June 30th, 2021 as sort of that expiration date, but these grants don't expire. They were set up for services essential to your library if you don't have the funding. I know it's not a lot. We started this sort of on a test basis and haven't had any recipients yet. So we are always looking at our grants to figure out what we need to revise, what we need to improve. So we are going to look at this soon to see if we can make some improvements. But if you, let's just say you have a computer that it just stops working unexpectedly and you don't have the funds to replace it. You could ask for $1,000 towards that purchase. You could even purchase it if you have to immediately, and that's something you didn't budget for and it's going to cause a hardship to that line item. You could ask for reimbursement within 90 days. So that information is also, we're not going to go over that again because it's on the website where Angela just showed you all the resources. Our Facebook page is something that was revitalized a couple years ago. Laura Novello from Lucas County is doing an amazing job at keeping this updated. She posts things regularly. If I put an announcement out on the listserv and it's something you need to know about, she puts it on Facebook. If there's some change in the law or something that affects Ohio attorneys, she'll put that on there. I think we could utilize this more. I think it would be great if sometimes when we want to post an announcement to the listserv, maybe we think, let's contact Laura and see if we can put this on Facebook. And then we could just send out an announcement that this is on Facebook, go see it. And then we could keep all the comments kind of there. If it's something that's more like an event or something that's more of a celebration, like a milestone, like your library has an anniversary or someone is retiring or moving into a new position, that would give us a more informal space where everyone can comment and celebrate together. So we just need to think about how we could use the Facebook page more. And that's just one of the things I thought about. Do any of you ever look at the Facebook page?
I'm going to show it, Jennifer.
Okay.
Trying to see if it says how many. You can create your own post on it. I don't think you need to ask Laura for permission.
Yeah.
So you could even go right, just like any other Facebook page. And but I don't know how many people are following it. But it's a great resource, like Jennifer said.
Just remember it's there and you can use it. Especially if it's something where you don't need a response. Like the listserv, I think it's great that people use the listserv frequently, but I also don't want to lose things. And sometimes the Outlook puts this big whole chain of things together and some of those messages sort of get lost. So there are some things that might actually get more attention on Facebook for that reason, if it's something where you don't need a reply from other libraries. Okay, before we move on, I got an email that someone's chat is showing disabled. So Angela, I don't know if there's something you need to make sure it's enabled for everyone.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
It's enabled from our end. I don't know how that works. If you have to enable it on your own end. You'd think I would know this by now, but I don't.
Well, these things, you can't really test them until you're in a meeting.
Yeah.
We actually did a fake meeting just to make sure, everybody could see the PowerPoint and everything. But when I'm in a meeting, these things work. So I don't know what's going on. So just keep in mind.
Email us or unmute yourself and ask.
Or call in if you need to speak and you can't get unmuted. I know some of you don't have microphones on your computers, but you can use that phone number and call in. Okay, any questions before we move on? Okay, I do have the listserv email here just in case you ever need it and can't remember it. Most people can go back through their old emails and find it with no problem. So that's the listserv email. And right now for interlibrary loan, we do just use the listserv. But like Angela said, you can also look at the union catalog to see if you can request directly from a library. Our libraries have been great to share. I think the listserv and the sharing through the listserv has been one of our best services. Do any of you have questions about the listservs? Because there are multiple and some people know what they all are and some people don't. And I know I get a lot of questions about that from newer librarians. Does anyone need me to clarify what listserv is, which one's which, and or is that clear? Okay, so I'm not hearing anything. This one is specifically consortium libraries. So it's a
Yes,
little,
please.
okay, it's a little confusing.
Yes, please.
Okay. This
By
is
the way,
one-
nobody can chat because you're recording. When you're recording a session, that disables the chat function for all the people that are attending.
But the host can chat, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because-
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
for
I don't know if there's a way to change that, but that's what the problem is.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a listserv for all the consortium libraries. So this is the one for all of us who are statutory members. So just keep that in mind. The ORALC is the listserv for the County Law Library Special Interest Group of ORAL. It's the same people because in ORAL, only Ohio has county law libraries. So it's pretty much the same people. The consortium is established by statute. ORAL is a professional organization. So
I'll just add this. The listserv through the state that I monitor, we have a limited number of people that can be on it, which is why I asked that only one person per library be on it. It is also, there are no vendors on it. On the ORAL listserv, anyone who's a member of ORAL can join the ORALC list, and that includes our vendors, and they are on it. It hasn't, I know in the past there have been some issues with that, but just keep that in mind if you're ever posting on the ORALC list. But this listserv for us, for the consortium, is just the board and one librarian per library.
and if you're doing an interlibrary loan request, if you send it to our listserv and ORALC, the same librarians are getting it. So you wouldn't really need to send it to both. One strategy you could keep in mind is that if you send it to us, to the lawlib@list.em.ohio.gov, and you don't get a response, if you consider sending it to the main ORAL listserv, not the ORALC, but the larger one, that includes all ORAL member libraries. You know, they may have something that we don't have if you're not getting it, but generally we get it for each other. We have what you need. So I always suggest starting with this one because this one is, it's basically the same people responding as ORALC. You are free to use any of them to request items, but for reporting your interlibrary loan materials that you receive, we would prefer you use our listserv and report it to us. If you're using the other listservs, it's kind of iffy whether or not people are reporting. They can, they don't have to, but we really need the stats to show that how much we're able to share resources with each other. So, you know, if you can use our listserv and report to our ILL report page, please do so. Okay. The other service we provide when we reduce your amount for most years, that's basically a grant to you. So you may not think of that as a service, but the reason we call it refund grants is because we are refunding back part of your payment. It's just done, you subtract it so you don't pay in the first place, but it's basically a grant where a certain amount is refunded back to you. So we are anticipating being able to keep doing that most years, but then we're on a cycle where every 5th year, we will just request the full 2%. So 2020, we requested the full 2%. We plan to do it again 2025. So we're hopeful that this will keep keep us, afloat and still replenish our funds every few years where we can let you keep as much of your money as possible. But we are seeing declining revenue. So we just kind of want you to have an idea of
What do you attribute the declining revenues to? If my understanding is that the libraries are funded by fines and tickets and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
is there a correlating decline in that?
a few
source
years
of
ago,
income?
yeah, I think it was may have been 2018. I did a presentation a few years ago where we talked about this at a SIG meeting. People are.
I've only been a librarian since October.
Yeah, well, obviously this year it's because there were so few a lot less traffic tickets written with COVID last year. Patrols were just not having that interaction with people. The roads, people weren't traveling as much because they weren't allowed to go anywhere. Most places that they wanted to get, they couldn't travel, and a lot of places were just closed and shut down. So that is the obvious factor this year. In previous years, it's not been so much how many traffic tickets are written, it's how many are paid. In general, a lot less have been paid. And I think a big contributing factor in most of our counties is the drug epidemic. A lot of traffic stops actually start as traffic stops and turn into drug enforcement stops. So sometimes the traffic fines are either dropped or they're just never paid. You have a defendant who's not going to pay. So you can actually look at State Highway Patrol statistics online to see how many stops they're making each year. You can, and it's broken down more or less by type of stop. I don't remember all the details, but you can get State Highway Patrol statistics. You can get some statistics from the courts. We can't get a lot of statistics from all of the other enforcement officers. Like you don't always get things from township officers or county deputies, but you can look and you can just see in general, just looking at Ohio State Highway Patrol, the stops have decreased and the traffic stops. So less tickets being written and less tickets being paid. That's my.
So is that something then that, like, I think it was Oral has like a legislation committee or a lobby event or something that down the road they should be looking at other sources of income if they want the law libraries to be maintained? Like,
That's not gonna happen.
If we question it, they're more likely to take it all away.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And we do
I get
get,
it. I hear that.
yeah, we do get that capped amount from the courts. For most counties, it's like $1,250 from common pleas. That's a small percentage of pretty much everything they prosecute under a state statute until that cap is reached. And that's the same thing for municipal court. I think a lot of us get a 15,000 amount that's capped. Those are not specifically traffic cases, but they're capped. So the traffic cases are the ones where there's not a cap on what we can make.
Okay.
So enforcement's going back up right now. So let's just hope that the trend keeps upward. But we're more likely to lose funding than gain it if we take it up with the legislature.
Understood. Thank you.
Mhm.
Yes, it's a good time for me to chime in on that topic. Yeah, going back to the legislature carries far more risk than it would gain. So I don't think the consortium board would ever vote to do that. We had the advantage, though, at the beginning of support from the County Commissioners Association. I doubt that they would be supportive this go round if we tried another go round. In fact, I know they would not be. And without their support, we would have absolutely no chance of success.
Any other comments or questions on that?
I got a comment, guys, since we're talking about this topic. I'm thinking about presenting something on this topic at our next Oral thing next year. I'm actually trying to bridge the gap between me and my county. And personally, I would like to see more things that way because we're never going to change this legislation. And like you said, if we go for that, we probably will lose it. But I do think that we can focus on trying to create new relationships
Absolutely.
and really trying to bridge that gap, like the judge just said, with our commissioners. And I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Right.
And look, I got that grant.
Yes.
I
yes,
can't
that's
even
amazing.
believe it. But it's like thinking outside the box, I guess. And I would like to see like more of that. It's hard to do, and I know not everyone's going to be able to do it. But I think if we try to support each other and kind of look at that instead of looking backwards, because we do need these resources. And the public's important as well. To me, that's the defining future of this. But I just had to share that because
That's perfect. That's the direction we're heading with some of our comments. We're going to get into some discussion on showing how we're useful to our county. So will get into exactly what you're talking about in more depth in just a few
yes, because
minutes.
like he said about the commissioners, we got to show them our value.
Yes.
And how do you do that? But you have to become a team player, and that's a hard thing to do, but I do think it's possible. Like I just on the whim signed up for this work core agency in the county. They have kids that are interns. I did it. Do you know what I mean? Because then that shows my people in the county that I'm willing to be a team player and take on their services. It has nothing to do with my mission. Absolutely nothing. But that relationship is really important, and you help a kid, right? You help a kid and you further information and education about who we are, you know.
And just
But I
people,
guess
county
that's-
agencies start recognizing you. Some people,
Yes.
no one in their counties even know who the librarian is, and just being out there and having your face out there and interacting, that's a big step too.
Yeah.
We are allowed to, most of us have to go to the county commissioners for our annual budget, even though we're not part of the general fund. You are allowed to request a supplement to your budget from the general fund, but they're not going to give you money if they don't know who you are, or you're not doing anything to help them. So, buying those extra Matthew Bender handbooks for the county agencies, doing what you did, offering your services to negotiate contracts, the more you can get in front of the commissioners and show your worth, again, and keeping statistics is a huge part of that. So you can say in your justification, hey, we serve like 80, on average, 80 public pro se patrons every week. It's probably gone up since then. That's a huge gap in services that no one else in the county is providing. And if you take that on, we just give them forms. We help them find the form that they need and send them on their way. But nobody else in the county is doing that. So the more you can put yourself out there and provide good PR, chances are when you're in a bind like we are right now, you could go to the commissioners and say, hey, we spent, our revenue has just bottomed out this year. Is there any way we can get a boost in our budget for next year? If they know who you are and they like what you're doing, chances are better than if they don't know who you are.
Absolutely. And Brenda, I think you're taking the correct course. And I think it's life in general, not just for libraries and county commissioners. You can't build a relationship when you need it. You have to have the relationship established so that you can use it when you need it.
And I would just emphasize the access to the public. For those of you that are new, up until 10 years ago, we weren't open to the public. We were solely for the attorneys. And that's kind of what got us in trouble with our funding. The county commissioners were providing space for a library that was really a private library that didn't help anyone but the private attorneys. So
despite being publicly funded
exactly
for over 100 years.
Exactly. So, legal aid has a very limited mission. You may have some self-help clinics in your courthouse. I know our self-help clinics are usually packed and send people to us. If you can show that you're helping the citizens of your county and not just the other bureaucrats, I think that's really going to go a long way.
And in the long run, that helps the courts a lot.
Exactly.
Because those people are going to go to the courts trying to get help when they're representing themselves. If we can't, if we can't just provide some forms or something, that's going to overrun the courts, and everything's going to be much more complicated with the courts as well.
Mhm.
And just, if you all need any kind of just general consultation, you can let us know. If there's something that you don't feel is appropriate to ask on the listserv, or if it's something that is not applicable to all libraries, it's like a situation you are dealing with in your library where you need some help, let us know. We can do consultation, library visits. Angela and I have visited libraries when they were doing like a personnel change, and they were looking at funding and how to adjust funding and things like that. And save money. We can generally look at your budget and see if we can look at some ways to save you some money. So if you are in need with some particular issue, and if you want us to even meet with your board, we can do that. So just keep that in mind. We can do general consultation as needed, specific to your library. Okay, so we just want to take a few minutes to explain some of the things we can't provide and why, especially in light of a lot of the things librarians have asked us for over the years. And this would even be an opportunity for you to say, well, why can't you provide this product or that product, and ask, and we'll try to give you our best answers. The obvious problem is revenue. You've seen that we don't get much, and we're spending more than we make each year. So that's our key problem. But let me explain why it's difficult for us to get any proposals right now. We have gotten several proposals over the years from vendors for various online resources. But what they do when they write a proposal for us is set a threshold. If you get X number of new subscribers, we'll give you a discount. We're to the point we can't meet that threshold. The libraries that can afford these products, and I'm thinking of things like Hein Online, the things that are not Lexis Westlaw, but things like Hein, Cheetah, Wolters Kluwer, I know we did that a few years ago, things like that. Once we get that initial set of subscribers, then it's up to those libraries to renew. And when they give us a new offer, they want new subscribers. We're basically at the point where any library that can afford a product already has it. The small libraries, we spent some time a couple years ago calling them. Angela and I did, the advisory council did. Most of them spend all of their funding just on staff and either their Lexis or Westlaw. And that is enough, and they're not requesting anything else because they can't afford the upkeep. They could, enjoy it for maybe a year, but then they can't afford the upkeep. So most of you that are impacted are sort of mid-sized libraries where historically you've offered a lot of services, but maybe now your revenue is going down and you have to cut. Those are the ones who are most likely to request a product that we cannot provide. So right now we can't really get proposals because we can't get new subscribers. Some products don't have wide enough appeal. We've looked into some things like Gale Legal Forms and EBSCO Legal Source. They're not Ohio specific enough. The Gale Legal Forms are not Ohio specific at all. EBSCO Legal Source is just law reviews of journals, and they don't have very many Ohio ones in there. I remember searching before and I couldn't find, but maybe just a couple of Ohio journals. So the one thing that we have at Franklin County is the EBSCO Legal Information Reference Center, which is more for pro ses. It's general overview stuff. It's also not Ohio specific, but it's a really good just starting point for people representing themselves. If you
Can you
cannot,
repeat the name of that, please?
it's EBSCO Legal Information Reference. Tell me if I'm right on this, Angela. Legal Information Reference Center, I believe.
It's
We don't call it that on our website because it's a long title.
It is.
But it's on Franklin County's website.
It's on our website. It's called the Legal Information Reference Center. If you go to our website, it's the very last link on the left-hand side in the public box. And they do let us put it on there remotely.
So if you need to refer a pro se to some very basic starting point type of legal information, you can go to our website and show them that. You are welcome to do that. If there are things you can't afford, other libraries probably have access and can help you out. So please keep that in mind. The one thing everyone wants that we just can't provide is Lexis or Westlaw. And the most obvious reason is cost and logistics. Everyone has different needs, different contracts, start and stop dates. There's no way we could even get a discount and bill it to the consortium and then bill all of you for reimbursement, because that'd be 88 different charges. We can't do that with our fiscal office. But the whole point of the statutes, the way they are right now, is for you to coordinate contracts with your county agencies. And again, that's where those relationships come in. That's how you get your discounts on those products. You go to your courts, your prosecutors, any other agencies that would need Lexis or Westlaw, and you get them on one contract, because the higher number of users, the lower the price is per user. So that's really the idea behind the statutes, where we're supposed to coordinate the legal purchasing for our county agencies. And a lot of agencies don't even know we're supposed to do that, and it's in the statutes. They're supposed to come to you and say, here are the legal resources I need. Can you get them for me? And I do want to clarify, you don't have to pay for it. You can get it under one contract and bill them for reimbursement. The idea is you're negotiating a better contract. You're not paying for everything. You could pay for a few bucks and again, establish your usefulness if you have the funding. But if you don't, you can get them that better rate and still bill them for the reimbursement. So West and Lexis are not going to work with us. We've tried, but I've seen a really positive feedback from them in the last few years of people renegotiating their contracts. They're trying to outdo each other right now. And West, a few years ago, a lot of people switched from Lexis to West just a couple of years ago, because West was offering lower rates than Lexis, which normally doesn't happen. So if you get feedback from both of them and they know that you're considering the cheaper option, they're also more likely to work with you. Angela may want to add to that on because a lot of the issues we faced was before I started, and she's dealt with this a lot longer. She may want to add some comments on difficulties we've had with certain vendors.
Well, I would just say you might even, if you're getting ready to negotiate a contract with either vendor, maybe put it out on the listserv and ask what people have experienced recently. Right now, I think both of my contracts for the first time ever, the prices are frozen for each year. So I didn't get the 3% the 3% annual increase. Lexis, I mean, our funding has bottomed out tremendously, and to the point where we're actually a little worried right now. And I tried to get out of my Lexis contract at the beginning of the year because we just can't afford to keep doing it. And they gave us, they obviously didn't want us to get out of the contract, but they're giving us, was it like 6 or 8 months at no cost? And then they've reduced the cost for the rest of the year, and we'll look at it again next year. So they're like Jennifer said, they're really working with libraries right now because they don't want to lose you completely.
They're losing money too.
They're losing money too. So ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want.
And I did get an email. Just some people may have the option of partnering with their public library on some databases like Gale. I think Gale might be something a lot of the public libraries have. Mm-hmm. So it's an option. You may want to reach out to your public libraries too to see what they can offer you and what you can offer them. Another thing that we're frequently asked is, why aren't we buying West books instead of Lexis? I wish we could. I'll just say that. When I do reference, I go to West Products first most of the time. But we had a proposal for 2018 purchases for 3 books from West that would have cost us, just for 3 books, $97,000 approximately. Those were estimated costs for 2018. That was with a 30% discount. It would still cost us almost $100,000, which is why the board did not want to do it, because we couldn't keep it up every year. Our board's really good about trying to make sure you know what to expect every year and not cutting any services. I looked at prices, current prices. If we went with those same 3 books today with a 30% discount, we'd be spending over $163,000 just for 3 books from West. If we wanted just 1 book at current pricing, we would spend more on 1 West book than we spend on all Lexus books combined. So that's really what it boils down to. We're hoping that even though maybe you prefer the West books, if we provide some Lexus books, that'll free up some of your money for some of these other books that we just can't afford to provide. Does anybody have like comments that, questions or comments about West books or the handbooks in general? Let me also give you an update. Some of you were participating in the last board meeting, and we discussed the OSBA books. The green book is now just online, electronic. There's no print version. And it appears that their CLE books that they publish are going to be all online. So I am still working with them, hoping to have some kind of offer. They don't have anything available yet. I checked in, they're still working on it. So I just want to give you an update on that. We're hoping to make something available to you for that in the future. So anyone want to ask questions about a service we're not providing and why? Okay. Making sure I don't have emails. All right, so this is the last slide, and this is where we really want to hear back from you. One of the things that we want to do is get some ARPA grant funding to make sure we have funds available for other things. You know, we've obviously seen a big hit in our funding. So we're looking at some potential projects, and right now, I can tell you some of the things that we've considered that will not work. Like I said, OSBA, we actually reached out to them hoping to have some kind of grant proposal to provide some OSBA materials, but they don't have anything available to us yet. We were looking at some books that are not Lexus or West, but are very popular in Ohio. There is a landlord-tenant book from the Cleveland Legal Aid Society that is very popular, but it's 5 or 6 years old, and they're not going to have a new edition ready for at least another year. We also looked at a very popular Ohio book. I think it's like OVI Defense, written by an Ohio attorney. Again, it's an older edition, and we don't see any prospects for a new edition. We are considering getting grant funding for the books we purchase each year, and possibly our Library World subscription. And we would love to know, this would be a great time to let us know if anybody thinks you would like to join Library World. It would really help with our grant process if we can say that we're going to have some new members on the platform, and we can show that we're sharing resources. Is that anything that anyone would be considering right now? If you're not already on Library World and you would like to add your catalog? I guess not.
You say, Jennifer, that they could join for free? I mean,
Yes.
on
And
a
we
limited
will-
base. So I guess my question would be, why wouldn't you? I mean, I can understand why you wouldn't
Oh,
go
Holly raised-
deeper into it for the expense, but if it's free on a limited basis.
And we
I'll
may,
see Holly.
and I'm not sure how many people we have on the call that are not current.
Yeah, that's
subscribers.
that's the other
probably the
issue.
issue.
I do
So,
have a hand raised from
all
Holly.
these-
Does that mean
yes.
you're interested?
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm interested. Yes,
Okay.
I'm new. Hi, I'm Holly.
What library are you from?
Miami County Law Library.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll reach out to you and we can get the ball rolling.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Maybe we ought to put that information out for those that aren't on this call, that you can join on a limited basis, but you can join for free and get some of the services.
We
I'd be
did. We've already
interested.
done that.
I'm sorry, who said that?
Gina from Medina.
Okay.
Okay. I just think if we even get 1, 2, 3 new libraries, that's really going to go a long way in showing the worth of this as a grant project.
Well, and you might want to, whatever communication you send out, trying to get people to accept it, include that training, because in all honesty, I've been in this job 6 months now, and today's the first day I even understood what it was.
Okay.
It's not something my predecessor showed me how to use. It's an icon on my desktop that I clicked on occasionally and tried to figure out what it was, but had no clue.
Okay.
Is this Jean Marie?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. Who is this talking?
this is Sandra Stoll in Hancock County.
Oh, hi, Sandra. If you want to give me a call, I'll be happy to do a overview with you.
Well, now I see, now you showed me where there's a link, I can do that.
Okay.
My point was, if you're trying to get libraries who aren't using it to use it or to sign up for it, maybe the next communication you send out asking those 50 libraries that aren't currently enrolled, you know, tell them, here's the training, this is what it does. Because the communication I recall getting in the past was just like, it's library world.
Will do.
There wasn't enough that perked my interest, I guess is what I'm saying, for me to
Yeah.
explore.
Yeah,
it.
I think the last one I sent out, I explained it was a web-based cataloging system and to reach out to me off list because I wanted to follow up and see who was interested in providing whatever information they needed. But we can also send that out and make sure everyone knows that there's training. Yeah, and let me
And that
stress,
was not meant to be critical. It was just meant to
No,
be a
that
friendly
makes
suggestion.
perfect sense.
yeah,
We assume
just-
everyone knows what it is, and you're right, they don't.
yeah. And
This has so far been the best COC LL meeting I've been to. I'm like, wow, I'm learning so much.
well, now that everyone's used to Zooming, it's a lot easier to do
Yeah.
this. So, okay. So those are some things to keep in mind with Library World. Let me ask you how much interest there would be if the consortium provided every library with access to the SupportWorks child support calculator software. And those of you that already have it, we could pay the annual fee for renewal.
Hey,
Is that something that sounds,
Sure, why don't we get rid of the share screen
Yes.
so we can see
we
it?
don't need that anymore.
Yep.
No.
Because I see Gina raising her hand.
Yes. Yeah, because that's the
There
last
we
one.
go.
So we
Okay,
don't need that.
now. Dave Armstrong is thumbs up.
Okay.
Brenda. So we're getting some definite interest in that.
Okay, we've seen a huge uptick in people coming in the library asking to use child support software. And right now we don't have any. We send them to the Job and Family Services website. But our courts used to let them use it on a couple computers there, but they don't let people there in that area now since COVID. So we've seen a huge increase.
And we don't know the specifics yet, but we do know that they're willing to work with us in terms of libraries who already have it. So if you already have it, you could still participate in this and get the year or the 9 months of the grant cycle for free. So we'll have information shortly, but we just wanted to gauge the level of interest.
Okay. Any options that we've not considered? I guess our problem with ebooks, I know that's something that people have asked about. We could potentially add ebook titles, but we could only make it available for a year. And then the grant would only cover, was it 9 months?
months,
And
yeah.
then we pay the rest. So an ebook is not considered a one-time purchase. It's considered a subscription, which makes it hard to work out for a grant project when you don't have an entire year for the grant period.
We could could we apply for the Overdrive platform? So if we got more people to, no.
Because they're billed so many different times. It's all based on when the library signed up, and we've
Okay.
already paid for 9 out of the 10 for the next year. We won't start
Okay.
getting bills until
Could
you know,
we,
probably May of
could we
next
do
year.
it for new people though?
We
We could do like a 9-month invoice for new people.
Yeah. Yeah, if there's anyone new that would sign up during the grant period, we could definitely include that. So you all would need to let us know
Right,
if
like
you would
next
want to
week.
join the
Yeah.
platform. You need to let us know right away,
Yeah,
but you wouldn't actually join till November 1st because that's the grant period.
just a reminder.
That's something I'm
ARPA grant-
interested.
The ARPA grant deadline is August 1st. So if you're still working on your library's ARPA grant, you've only got 2 weeks to get that in. Same with us. So if you're looking to join Library World or or Overdrive and start circulating ebooks, we probably need to know that by the end of next week so we can get
I
the,
would say sooner because we need to have it written next week as
Yeah.
much as possible. I would say, well, a few days. We'll say, let us know within a few days. We'll send out an email after this meeting. So
I have a question, guys. I'm trying to, I got the one through my county for the new room, the new conference room, the technological center. And I know that I asked you, Angela, I'm thinking about the ARPA for the 5,000
Mhm.
for what you guys are talking about. I'm struggling with ideas because I don't want to get into something that I can't pay for next year.
right.
And I can't tie it in, can I? I think that was the question I asked. So I'm like, ooh,
Right, you can't
I'm
ask for the
struggling.
same thing for both because it would, in the audit process, if the same receipts are turned in, that's gonna get caught. So it has to be something totally different.
And does it
Um,
have to be something technological in nature?
No, when we met,
Outreach stuff, would that be
Yes.
considered?
when we met with the state librarians, they're really focused on outreach. That's the key word. Outreach and how the pandemic has affected how you provide services. So I know a lot of people, I think I said earlier, are adding to their ebook or asking for their ebook collection to be paid for. That's what we're doing. So that, the justification for that is even now, people don't feel comfortable coming in. They can get the resources on their phone or their laptop or their tablet. That's always an option. But if you can justify, if you can explain to them that, this is how the pandemic affected us, and I'm going to use this money in this way to counteract that.
Okay.
So that's something I would be interested in talking to somebody after the meeting, maybe. I like the idea of ebooks, but the way our library is currently set up, we have 4 terminals and you have to come to the library to use them and to be able to access the materials on them. Because our county won't allow, this is Hancock County again,
Okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
So the county, the way they've explained it to me, again, fairly new in the job, they don't want people VPNing into the system on the county's line. So I was noticing, like Franklin County, you had that nice little click here for the ebooks. How do you guys get around that? Or is
Well,
that
they're
just
not
not a
reading
problem
them.
for you? Or?
They're not reading them in the library. They're reading them on their devices. It's just like an ebook that you would have at home on your Kindle.
Right, but in order to get it on my Kindle, I have to be on a Wi-Fi system or something to get on Kindle's system to have the two talk to each other. Like and maybe it's a technical issue, I just am not smart enough. My county is telling me, no, you can't do that because that requires you to allow people onto the county's network to
No, they
get
can
to
be on
that.
their,
Web-based. It's not
Web-based,
housed
yeah.
on your network. It's
yeah, you can
web-based.
download the book at
Like the
home.
website.
So when they click that link, they don't have anything to do with
Mm-mm.
No.
It's web-based. Basically, they're going to a website and logging in is what it amounts to. Just like if you're logging into an account for a website for something else from home.
Okay.
Yeah. I will call you.
Okay.
Maybe not today. I have a bunch of meetings today, but I'll give you a call tomorrow and we can go through this.
Actually, I'm out of the office tomorrow.
Okay.
So
about
maybe
Monday?
one day next.
Yep.
Yeah, Monday would be.
Okay. I'll give you a call.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other new products that you think might be good for a grant project that we've not considered?
So I don't know exactly what titles you've looked into, but Amy Kurlansky just suggested to me the Ohio Medicaid Manual by Richard Taps. I don't know if you guys have looked into that one.
We did look into that. But I don't remember what came of that.
Yeah,
I
we
just
can
know that's a
check it out.
popular one here.
Yeah.
It's real. We buy 2 copies of that as well.
Anything else that you might suggest as something for us to consider? Let me thank you for your patience, first of all, but I have one quick thing I want to do. I just want to address a few things that we haven't, that came up on the survey comments, just really quickly. Most of the things that came up in the comments have already been addressed, but we still have some people asking about the courts, if we can have them audited to see if we're getting our funds. Basically, the courts are they're audited as a county agency, just like every now and then the state auditor comes into the library to audit you. But a lot of the things they just look at quickly, not in depth. It's basically up to us as the librarians to go to the courts if we don't think we're getting the money and ask for detailed reports. You look at the detailed report and you can compare that to the flow chart that shows how the funding flows down based on the arresting officer. That is on the website, the flow chart that the auditor of state created several years ago. And then if you feel that you're not getting your funding, go to your prosecutor and show them the documentation and get a legal opinion on whether or not that court or municipality is paying you the amount they're supposed to under statute. If you request a special audit from the auditor of state, you're going to have to pay for it. And I've heard of cases where libraries got less money after that. So you probably don't want to do that, but you can get detailed reports. They've got some kind of system that calculates those payments, and they should be able to print you out reports to show you what you're getting. There were some general comments about showing the usefulness of the library. We talked about this a little bit ago when Brenda was talking about the things she's done to establish those relationships. They don't always know, the county agencies, they don't always know that they are supposed to come to you for legal research purchases. So you can every now and then reach out and remind them, hey, under statute, you can come to us to coordinate your legal researching needs. Are there some purchases you need? Can we maybe work with you to get better rates? And also, if you're helping pro ses, the courts really recognize that and see it and appreciate it. And you don't have to provide legal advice. You don't have to provide reference. You can even just have a link on a computer to the domestic relation forms that are available from the Supreme Court of Ohio. Those were created to be used in every county. Even if you just say, well, here's some forms and here's the revised code, and show them how to use the index so they can look up what they need. You can keep it very basic, but still be available to them. And that shows your usefulness.
Don't forget, you can charge for document delivery. So you don't have to be doing this for free. It's nickels and we charge 10 cents a page. It may seem like nickels and dimes, but we bring in about $5,000 a year just from that. So you can do document delivery charges and other charges to kind of fill that gap too, Brenda.
Yeah,
So
no,
I have
that's,
I-
I'm sorry. I just wanted to just input and say events, hold an event. If you're afraid to go up and talk to somebody or approach them singularly, have an event, get a popcorn maker, get it through a grant, do whatever you got to do, and make yourself known and open. And that is really a great one. And then you can let those services, I do it once a year. I go to the different buildings. I put it out there. You would be surprised. I have people that have never even come in my library and worked there for 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's like event, and then you can start a conversation. That's
And
all I'll say.
my advice is always to go to the county administrator, not the commissioners. If you can get the county administrator to become your friend, it's amazing the doors that open to you, because that person works with everybody. If you prove your worth to that person, or you offer your services to that person, you're open to the whole county.
Okay, I have another kind of silly question. So as far as charging for copies, when I took over this job, there's certain things I was told I'm not supposed to charge copying for because that particular judge doesn't want me to. But shouldn't I be able to charge that back somehow?
So we can't charge fees to county employees if they're doing their job. That's true. You can.
No, I mean like the domestic relations court will send somebody up here to get the paperwork to cancel a CPO.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to charge them for those 3 pages of paper.
Right.
If the domestic relation court sends somebody up to get dissolution paperwork, I'm allowed to charge that person for those 10 pieces of paper. So they've dictated which copies on my machine are free and which copies are
That
So
should be
when
your
paid for
board's
by the public or
policy.
attorneys.
When you say people, are you talking about public or employees?
The public. The public.
Yeah,
No,
they
your
can't-
board
employee-
can set a policy for public copying
Yeah.
charges.
The court can't
I'm
tell
sorry,
you.
could you? So the
Your-
courts can't do that.
Mm-mm.
No, your
It's
board
up to your-
sets that policy. So
That's up to board.
if you want to charge document delivery fees,
Get your
Um,
board to do it in a meeting where you can have it in a written policy.
exactly.
I think, and I've been away from it for a while, so don't take this as legal advice, but I believe the statute regarding protection orders has language that prohibits the charging of any costs. So before you try to override, I'm just saying carve out those protection orders and double check. They may well be the exception based on the statute, and arguably the paperwork copying necessary to cancel a protection order may well be protected by that. So I'm just saying, be careful on the protection orders. I think there's a carve out exception.
But in that case, shouldn't the court be the one that's printing it out for them instead of sending them up to me to print them out?
You would think.
You
They
would
do
think,
it
but
here, but-
under the column of relationships, I would go ahead and eat
Just
those
be
3
nice.
pages.
It just seems that that's like one of the most popular ones that people come up here for, so, which is sad. It's sad.
I understand, but I think there's a carve out for them, and
Okay, I'll check it.
and I
you.
think the court's probably going to view, now that we're not a private association but a public entity, they may have a pretty good argument there. That's not a hill I would die on.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, let me reinforce something Angela said earlier. Sometimes we get comments on the survey about virtual training options. Let us know what you want training on. We're trying to get back to doing a lot more things now that everyone's back to work, at least for the most part. But send us topic ideas if there's something you need training on, and we can follow up on that. And another thing I can't stress enough, we are supposed to share. If you look at the statutes, that's one of our duties basically, is to share resources. Please think about not just your library, but think about some of those small county law libraries near you that don't have funding, they don't have resources. Feel free to reach out to them and say, you know, you can send patrons here, here's what we have available. we don't care if any of you come to the Franklin County Law Library's website and use any of our resources. We have a huge legal forms page. We have legal research guides. We have that EBSCO database access. You can use that. Anything that we've got on our site for the public, feel free to use that if you need a little more help with just getting some resources to your patrons. I know a lot of you also have websites with information and you're more than willing to share, but we do see some resistance from time to time with our libraries thinking beyond their own library. But that's the whole goal of having a consortium. Share what you can with each other, and we can all fill those needs for the things we can't afford. That's all I have, but feel free if you have additional questions or comments, let us know now, because this is the best discussion we've had in quite some time.
This has been
It's
great.
Jean Marie. I have a question. One of the services that I provided when I was in a public library that people have asked me for, and it's written in my rules right now that I can't provide, is people would come in with a flash drive and need to print something. And this happens. I mean, I get these questions when the attorneys are visiting from other areas, and I get it from public, and it's written into my rules that they're not allowed to put a flash drive into one of my computers. And I imagine that was done for safety reasons, afraid that the virus would get, but I'm curious if anybody else has run into that and how you're dealing with it.
Mhm.
I had that one time and I just had him email me the file and then I printed it out.
So
Are
that
you on the county network with the county security in place, or is your network separate from the county for your computers?
I'm on the courthouse network.
I would check with whoever's in charge of the security for that to see if you probably already have protections where it's not going to hurt anything.
Mhm.
And then if that's the case, if your IT people in the county say you're fine to do it, then go to your board and tell them to see if they can change that policy.
Okay, and likewise, another service that I'd like to be able to offer is to be able to scan something. Our copier is capable of scanning and then emailing documents. But I've, been told that that's against the rules also. Do you have the same response then if and the other thing that even the vendor of the machine tried to talk me out of doing it. He said, well, you'll have no way of tracking what's been sent. And I said, I don't care.
Yeah. So we actually don't scan for our public. We don't scan and email it. We make them scan it to a flash drive. So, and that's another option for downloading from a flash drive. They can bring their flash drive in and print it out directly on our copy machine as opposed to the computers. But I would go back and check with your IT department and with your board, because that
Shouldn't be an issue if they have
shouldn't be an
good
issue
security.
anymore. Yeah.
Thank you.
Before
Anything
you
else?
end this meeting, I would just like to add that thank Jennifer and Angela for putting this together. This has been one of the most informative conferences I've had the opportunity to attend. I've been involved with this, the consortium, since its inception, and there were things that I learned here today that I'm sure others did as well. So thank you, Jennifer and Angela. This was a terrific presentation.
We'll do this more often.
Yes.
We should have been doing this before.
Well, now everyone knows how to use Zoom, so
Yeah.
it's going to be
Yeah,
so
that's-
much easier. So,
It's
and I
true.
want to thank all of you for taking your time. And this has been lengthy, but it gave us a chance to just sort of brainstorm and see what you need and how we can improve. So if you have additional suggestions, feel free to email us anytime.
Absolutely.
Anything else? Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.